So I wanted to talk about something very personal to me that I think that a lot of people will identify on some level. It's about the frustrating feeling of feeling rejected when you're being fired. Now, being fired is, believe it or not, something that I have a lot of experience with. I've been fired so many times. Now, just to put things in perspective, it's not that I'm a horrible person or that I make a really bad job. It's the problem is I work as a consultant and I work at so many places that the odds of me not getting fired is impossible, because there are so many different types of places and people don't always connect. And people, I've worked at so many places that I can tell you that the way different companies work can vary so much. Like the differences between how different companies work are incredible. There are places that are like nirvana compared to other places that are like hell on earth. And people who work on like hell on earth workplaces, they have no idea that there are these nirvana situations in other workplaces. So the problem for me has always been that when I work at these, let's call them hell pits, okay? When I work at these hell pits, and people will like push me to, work extremely hard, work from home in the evenings, work on the weekends without getting paid and stuff like that. As a consultant, I get paid for every hour that I work. So I don't do free work. That's not what a consultant does. So I'll just protest. I'll just say, nope, I'm not agreeing to that. I didn't agree to that on the interview, so I'm not doing it. So I have like a very firm idea about what I will not do. Sometimes I'll go the extra effort, I'll do something, but I will draw my limits. I won't do anything for the workplaces. So it has happened. I've been called into my boss's room, sometimes to HR departments, and I've been told to leave. And the thing when you work as a consultant is that you usually don't have like a contract like 3 months before you can get fired or something like that. Like here in Sweden, we have this rule, like if you get fired, you are by law, how should I put it? You always have like 3 months left of your contract if you're fired. This gives you an opportunity to search for new workplaces and stuff like that. I know in the US you can just get fired like that, but in Sweden we have this rule, so you can't just fire anyone and make that person leave unless you reached some kind of an agreement. Like, okay, if you leave now, you'll get like a week's pay. Is that cool? And if you reach an agreement, then it works. But as a consultant, you don't really have that. So sometimes they'll ask me to leave and I'll just pack up my stuff and leave like within an hour. And it's happened to me a bunch of times. And I'm not going to sound like cocky, like I don't care and stuff like that. It hurts a lot every single time, even though I have experience of it, even though I have a pretty solid idea of values that I have acquired through life. Like there are certain beliefs that I do have. I have this inner core of self-love, but it still hurts to become rejected. So I can absolutely understand the feeling a person could get when they're getting fired. So it's like getting dumped in a way, even though there is nothing really wrong with you. Sometimes people just don't get along. It still hurts. You don't want to be rejected. You think you're doing something right and then boom. Like that's the worst part. Sometimes when it just comes out of the sky, you had no idea that the person didn't like you. And sometimes it happens at workplaces. Sometimes I know like, okay, this is obviously not working out, and I get called into someone's office and they have to let me go. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I knew this was going to happen. I was just waiting for this call. And sometimes, most of the times actually, they won't tell me like anything. And it just terrifies me. Like, I'm like shocked. That's the thing. I just get genuinely shocked when they fire me. it's a horrible feeling, and I feel sorry for every person who gets that way. And I'm trying every single time to learn from it. I'm trying to not take it personally, but it is very, very difficult, you know? When I was younger, before I started working as a consultant, when I was like a teenager, I had a very low work morale, and I did get fired for basically doing a bad job. That happened, okay? And I've also had experiences where I've just left work that I didn't like. And the reason why I wanted to make this video, though, is not to say that it's okay to be fired. The reason I wanted to make this video was to explain that sometimes I think it's good when you get fired, because I think that the majority of people who don't get fired, they do a lot of compromises with their inner beliefs. You know what I mean? Like, I think that a lot of people are at workplaces where they do not agree with the values of the workplace, but they have to do it, you know, because it's their job. And they sort of phase out their inner values and emotions and thoughts, and they'll go like, oh, I would never buy a product from this company, but then they spend 10 years working at the place. And to me, I think that it's better to be fired from a place where you don't get along. So I think that there are other consultants that would have not been fired in my situations, because they will do whatever it takes to make the company happy. They will work for free. They will work overtime. And for me, it's always been like, look, this is just a gig. I get paid to work, and I'll do my best. I'll give you 100% for these 8 hours a day. And sure, I can work 1 hour extra every once in a while if it is required, but I'm not going to go overboard, because this is just a job that pays for the bills. That's it. That's the that's the deal, you know? You may get my efforts, my brain, my time, but you're not getting my soul. You're not getting my health. And I think it's very important that if you feel like, I don't like it here, I don't want to do what they tell me to do, and I will probably risk my job, but I can't bend over backwards for this company. I think it's important, first of all, to look for other jobs, but I think it's sort of important to not do whatever it takes to not get fired, because I think that's the problem with the world. Like, if you look at World War II with the Nazis and stuff like that, these were not demons from hell. These were regular people who just did their job. You know what I mean? Like, they listened to the authority at the time and they did their jobs. And I don't think that there was anything bad with Germans. Like, I don't think that Germans were just stupid or ignorant or anything like that. They were just people, and they were just trying to do their job. And I think this is something that happens all the time. You know, people go into wars, they kill people that they don't really hate. They do it because they're told to do so. And I know I'm doing these parallels sometimes, and it feels kind of uneven comparing war to a bad workplace. But my point is, I think it's important to never let your fears take over your values. You know, you have your virtue. That's a word we don't use a lot today. And I think it's important to have virtue. And the word, like, you can define in all sorts of ways. I don't know the exact definition of the word virtue, but for me, it's like you have a set of morale, of values that you believe in, and you should always prioritize your values about everything else. And that's virtue to me, you know? So if you get fired because you didn't bend over backwards, good for you. That's the message of this video. That's all I had for today. Hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care.